When we come into season 2, Peacemaker is being rejected by everyone. In season 2, we learn that it is a giant shared space that has 99 doors that lead to 99 different realities.
Spoiler warning for all of Peacemaker Season 2. Okay, Peacemaker Season 2 is doing that James Gunn magic trick. On the surface, it's a chaotic, R-rated superhero comedy about a guy who thinks a chrome helmet fixes trauma. But under the jokes, this season is basically a DCU blueprint, because it didn't just connect to Superman. It quietly rewired what's canon from Season 1, planted the seeds for Checkmate, pulled Batman-adjacent characters into the spy corner of the universe, and then used the multiverse to tease consequences that feel Darkseid-sized, without ever stopping to deliver a big, serious, New God speech. And I know the two things you probably clicked for are, 1. Wait, did they really tease Darkseid? 2. What is that secret cameo? We're getting to both, but stick with me, because the Darkseid breadcrumb is way sneakier than a big stone face showing up in the sky. So here's the plan. Episode by episode, I'm calling out the DCU connections you can verify on screen, plus a few possible references that fans have debated, clearly labeled as debatable. No over-claiming. Let's start with Episode 1, because Episode 1 is basically the DCU saying, we're officially doing this. Episode 1. The Ties That Grind. The DCU announcement, disguised as an awkward audition. Easter egg 1. The recap retcon that tells you the rules changed. Season 2 opens by reframing that big cameo moment from the Season 1 finale. The way it's presented makes it clear. We're not living in the exact same timeline vibe anymore. And if you freeze frame it, you'll notice the show is now emphasizing the new DCU lineup, including Superman and Supergirl, without stopping to explain it. No big speech, no whiteboard, just, yep, new DCU, moving on. Easter egg 2. The Justice Gang trio are not random cameos. Chris goes in thinking he's auditioning for hero work, but the scene is doing heavy DCU lifting. You get Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Maxwell Lord, 3 characters that instantly connect Peacemaker to the Superman side of the universe. And the Maxwell Lord part is especially important, because in DC, Maxwell Lord is not just some guy. He's the kind of guy who builds a system, and then uses that system to control the board. So if this season keeps putting Lord in your face, that's not an accident. Easter egg 3. Crank Toys is a Toyman deep cut. The interview location isn't just a funny set. Crank Toys points right at Cosmo Crank, Toyman. That's a very Metropolis-flavored pull. It's the show quietly telling you, this world has Superman-style villains, even if Peacemaker is stuck dealing with his own weird little corner. Easter egg 4. The White Rabbit plush in the background. There's a White Rabbit toy sitting there like it's normal. White Rabbit is a Batman villain. So even inside this goofy audition scene, the show is dropping a Batman breadcrumb as set, dressing. Like, Gotham's on the map. You just weren't looking. Easter egg 5. The Quantum Unfolding Folding Chamber is basically a Superman crossover device. This season's multiverse plot revolves around the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, and the show ties this tech to Lex Luthor's mess from Superman, which means the multiverse problem isn't some random sci-fi gadget. It's DCU power politics. It's Lex's fingerprints showing up in the infrastructure of the world. Hold on to that, because Lex doesn't show up in this season to be a cameo. He shows up to be a threat. Easter egg 6. Brother Eye gets name-dropped like it's office vocabulary. If you heard Brother Eye and didn't react, that's normal. But in DC lore, Brother Eye is a big deal. Surveillance, control, OMACs, the government turns people into weapons, nightmare. And Peacemaker drops that name early, casually, like someone said, printer. That's foreshadowing. Not for a jump scare villain, for the kind of story where the real danger is an institution. Easter egg 7. Ms. Godfrey is a Darkseid-adjacent name drop. There's a character named Miss Godfrey. On its own, it's just a name. But Godfrey is one of those DC words that makes comic readers think of glorious. Godfrey, Darkseid's propaganda guy. Is the show confirming Darkseid? No. But it is absolutely playing the remember this word game. And it's not the only map pin Episode 1 drops. Rapid fire. Listen for places like Belle Reve and Arkham, and catch DC city name breadcrumbs, like Bloodhaven and Evergreen. It's the DCU's way of saying, this is all in the same world. You just haven't visited every corner yet. Okay, Episode 1 is doing a lot. Episode 2 is quieter, but it gets more important if you care about Batman and the DCUs. Geography. Episode 2. A man is only as good as his bird. Gotham becomes a casual fact of life. Easter egg 8. Gotham is treated like it's already a character. When Gotham shows up in this season, it's not framed like a big reveal. It's just a place, and that's how you know it matters. The DCU is establishing Gotham as already active, without needing Batman on screen yet. Easter egg 9. Lord Tech shows up as everyday tech. If you notice Lord Tech branding or devices showing up around Chris, that's not random. That's the DCU doing what it does best, using background brands to tell you who is powerful. Maxwell Lord isn't just a cameo. He's being positioned as infrastructure. Now, episode 3 is where the show starts pulling comic book organizations into the story instead of just the wallpaper. Episode 3. Another Rick up my sleeve. The Paranoia gets a DC label. Easter egg 10. Sons of Liberty is a real DC poll. The show uses the name Sons of Liberty, which in DC Comics connects to Agent Liberty and a whole Patriot imagery turned into a weapon vibe. And it fits perfectly here because Peacemaker is always about that uncomfortable question. What happens when the people with the flag also have the guns? Easter egg 11. The multiverse is treated like a spy problem. Most superhero stories treat the multiverse like magic. Peacemaker treats it like an intelligence disaster. Who built this? Who controls it? Who benefits? That's the DCU drawing a line between the caped world and the agency world. And speaking of the agency world, Episode 4. Need I say door? The multiverse turns into a hallway of bad ideas. Easter egg 12. Early imp talk becomes foreshadowing. Earlier in the season, characters throw around the idea of imps and weird dimensional beings, like it's nerd chatter. But once the door hopping starts, you realize the show was prepping your brain for how the DCU handles reality warpers. In DC, imp usually means a normal problem is about to become a reality problem. Easter egg 13. The doors are basically a DCU stress test. Every time that chamber opens, the show flashes a new flavor of DC chaos. Worlds that feel like comic events, alternate timelines that look almost right, and quick glimpses that say, yeah, the DCU multiverse is huge. And the season's smartest move is that it doesn't linger too long. It hits you with these images, then yanks you back. Because the real point isn't the worlds. It's what ARGUS and the people in charge decide to do with them. Which brings us to episode 5, where the show quietly pulls a Batman thread so hard, it almost snaps. Episode 5, Back to the Future. Batman's shadow without Batman's cape. Easter egg 14. Sasha Bordeaux is a Batman pipeline character. Sasha Bordeaux is not a random new agent. In the comics, she's tightly linked to Batman lore, and eventually ends up in the orbit of bigger spy versus meta-human stories. So when the show reveals her as a cyborg, it's not just a cool character twist. It's the DCU, planting a seed for OMAC/Brother Eye territory. Stories that basically demand Batman exists somewhere in the background. Easter egg 15. The kaiju callback. There's a giant monster moment that looks and feels like the same type of big threat we've seen in the DCU's Superman world. And that's the point. Shared visual language. Even if you don't catch the exact parallel, your brain registers same universe. And then episode 6 hits, and suddenly the season stops being subtle. Episode 6. Ignorance is Chris. The twist that recontextualizes everything. Easter egg 16. Earth X wasn't just a twist. It was a breadcrumb trail. The big reveal is that the perfect dimension isn't just an alternate Earth. It's Earth X, a dystopian world where fascism won. Once you know that, earlier scenes play differently, especially the everything feels too clean vibe. The show makes the reveal feel like a character test. Chris didn't want to see the truth, so he literally didn't see it. Easter egg 17. The flag is the moment the show stops joking. That altered American flag is a detail you can miss if you're focused on the conversation in the scene. But once you spot it, the comedy drains out of the room. And the show is basically daring you to realize, wait, how long was this sitting here? Easter egg 18. Lex Luthor's cameo is a genre shift. Nicholas Holt's Lex showing up in Belle Reve doesn't feel like a fun cameo. It feels like a chess move. He's calm, he's informed, and he immediately makes Argus look like they're negotiating with a storm. And the most important part is what it implies. Lex is already connected to the multiverse tech. So the moment he enters this story, the multiverse stops being Peacemaker weird and becomes DCU dangerous. Also, watch how the show drops prison geography like it's paperwork. Van Kull gets name dropped, and suddenly you're thinking, oh, the DCU has a whole system for locking people like this away. Easter egg 19. The mystery inmate line is a fandom trap, and Gunn shut down the biggest guess. Lex tosses out a crude complaint about bizarre inmates in Belle Reve, and fans immediately tried to identify who he meant. One popular theory was that it was a Creature Commandos character. James Gunn said no. So the only honest takeaway is Belle Reve is full of metahumans we haven't met yet, and the show is teasing that bench without naming names. Now, Episode 7 is where Earth X stops being a concept and becomes a gut punch. Episode 7. Like a Keith in the Night. The alternate dad you didn't expect to care about. Easter egg 20. Blue Dragon is a mirror world riff on White Dragon. In Chris's world, Augie is White Dragon. In Earth X, he's Blue Dragon. That's not just a palette swap. It's the show telling you, this universe inverted its values. The man who was a monster in one world is treated like a hero in the other. And that's exactly why Chris gets emotionally trapped there. Easter egg 21. The production design was snitching the whole time. Once you know it's Earth X, you can go back and spot all the almost right details. Altered signage, propaganda textures, weird little swaps that your brain clocks as off, but not enough to stop you. Which is the point. The set is designed to make you feel what Chris feels, comfortable enough to ignore the warning signs. Okay, finale time, because this is where the season cashes its checks. Episode 8, Full Nelson. The finale that quietly changes the DCU. Easter egg 22. Checkmate is the real team formation of Season 2. A lot of people expected a Cape cameo parade. Instead, the show forms a spy agency, and naming it Checkmate is a huge DC pull. It's the DCU basically saying, here's who deals with the morally gray government stuff from now on. Not capes, chess pieces. Easter egg 23. The finale goes full LexCorp ecosystem. Keep your eyes on the background details. Classic DC brands like Big Belly Burger show up, and you get more Lex World connective tissue through people and institutions tied to Metropolis, and the Superman side of the DCU. It's the show saying, this isn't a standalone corner anymore. Easter egg 24. Reality warping imps show the DCU's weird scale. In the door sequence, one of the worlds you glimpse is this candy-colored nightmare with little, imp-like creatures. If you know DC lore, that's the exact kind of fifth dimension energy that usually leads to. Names like Mr. Mixia's Pitalik. The show never over-explains it. It just lets the visuals do the talking. Easter egg 25. Salvation is a comic-flavored concept turned into a policy decision. The finale introduces Salvation, an interdimensional prison world meant to hold metahumans. That's a very DC idea, because it's cosmic, but it's also bureaucratic. Somebody looked at superhumans exist and said, cool, let's build a prison planet, which is terrifying because it's not a monster plan, it's a paperwork plan. Easter egg 26. The zombie door is the biggest Darkseid breadcrumb of the season. One of the doors leads to a zombie-infected world. The show doesn't say DCA said, but that's the obvious comic book echo, an undead DC, Earth. And Deceased is tied directly to Darkseid and the anti-life equation. So if you're looking for the season's cleanest, Darkseid is out there, wink, without showing him. On screen, this is it. Easter egg 27. The secret cameo is the most Gunn move imaginable. The secret cameo isn't Superman. It isn't Batman. It's James Gunn himself, hiding in the background during the concert crowd scene. And the wild part is, he basically challenged people to freeze frame and find him, and most people still didn't. It's a perfect final joke for a season built on this idea. The truth is right there. You just don't notice it until you look for it. So yeah, Peacemaker Season 2 isn't just a bunch of Easter eggs. It's 3 layers happening at once. 1. Chris trying to become a better person. 2. Argus versus Checkmate versus Lex. The DCU's spy war. 3. The multiverse. Doors to worlds that look like jokes until they look like Darkseid-scale. Consequences. And that's why these references matter. They're not just winks, they're scaffolding. Now I want to know what you caught. Which Easter egg did you notice first? And which one made you pause and go, okay, that's definitely on purpose? Drop it in the comments, and if you want more episode-by-episode DCU breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. Because if Checkmate is the future, then Season 2 was just the opening move.